Hi, Josh. Thank you for your time. Ryan Keith with the AverageMarks podcast, powered by the Roar Network. It's a really solid card for Slammiversary. Besides the championship match, what match do you see still in the show for the night on Sunday?
Well, I've got to go with the match that I have been proclaiming will steal the show for quite some time, and that's the International Four-Way that's set to take place. I mean, you've got four incredible athletes in that match for Sunday. You've got the return of Johnny Impact, Taji Ishimori, the Bone Soldier, Rich Swann, and Phoenix. So those four together have an opportunity Sunday to absolutely electrify and steal the show, and only one man can win. I just think that match is must-see, can't miss. Those are the kind of wrestling matches that made me a wrestling fan as a kid, that these guys will do incredible things, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table on Sunday. That's a match that you just want to sit back and watch. And then, of course, you have the emotional matches taking place, the matches like Mask versus Hair and matches like Tommy versus Eddie. So I think the build to all of these matches have been incredible from just a performance standpoint. I'm really looking forward to the four-way, though.
Agreed. Thank you. Hi, Tommy. Thank you for your time. Ryan Keith of the AverageMarks podcast, powered by the Roar Network. Being the innovator of violence and being in so many hardcore matches, I know you have to have a favorite weapon. What's your favorite weapon to use in a hardcore match, and why? And what's the psychology behind why? Is it the pop of the crowd, the sound it makes on your opponent, stuff like that?
Excellent question. I would like to say the Singapore cane, but for some reason, I'm the one who always brings it to the ring, but yet it always gets used on me, so I'm a bit of an idiot. Honestly, old school will never die. I have seen a lot of matches. I've seen a lot of hardcore matches. Even when I was in WWE, we were in a Singapore cane match, and they were like, well, right from the beginning, just grab the canes and hit each other. And I was like, really? And where do we go from there? It's building to whatever is given to you. Once you fight outside to the floor, the match is now escalated. And if you think about it, there's the ring apron, there's the steps, there's the guardrails, then it's the floor. Then if you reach under the ring, whatever is under there, and if it's, from a cookie sheet, which also surprisingly is the greatest noise, and for a lot of people who think it doesn't hurt, I have busted more people's heads open or have lumps on my head from cookie sheets than anything else, then to a garbage can, then to a chair, then a cane, barbed wire, thumbtacks. You just got to keep on building to it, because it's, like I said, if you start from the beginning with just killing each other, where are you going to top it? So to me, old school psychology is always best. To answer your question, the Singapore cane hurts like MFer, and a cookie sheet, as hard as I swing it, sounds like sometimes a cannon going off.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the tweet. I saw your tweet.
Hey, Ryan Boman from thegorillaposition.com. You just talked about when you got started in the days of the magazines and newsletters. ECW was kind of built up through that as a grassroots movement and word of mouth. And you were discussing Twitch and the other platforms you're using with House of Hardcore. In hindsight, how big of a fire would ECW have set to the wrestling industry if it had existed in the era of social media?
Honestly, I think we'd be out of business. And here's why. Everything we did in ECW, most of it was illegal. Music, which was such a huge part of ECW, we wouldn't be able to use. And if you want to talk about conflicts and dramas, I mean, we would have riots all the time. Now think of the era of the cell phone camera. Think of the era of the cell phone camera when we would, after shows, party with fans, or have fights in bars, or even think about if all the stuff went down with, the owner not paying people, or even writing bad checks. That's illegal. And I said it on the WWE Network. A lot of people want to bitch and moan about Paul Heyman, but most of them chose to stay. And a lot of others never had anywhere else to go. But if you to answer your question, I don't think it would exist whatsoever. You could not today pick up a wrestler, a bloody wrestler, and throw him into the crowd and expect people to body surf him everywhere. You would be sued up the yin-yang for that. And I mean, when I get back to the music, I know for a long time, and when WWE put out all the, some of the ECW stuff, they were like, oh, they left out New Jack, and there were certain websites, saying they left out New Jack. How could they do that? Oh, because he had criminal records or all this stuff. It was just because all of his music had all of his matches had illegal music going on through the entire time. So to answer your question, I think we wouldn't have made it as long as we did. Balls Mahoney getting on an airplane in his underwear and then his forehead starts bleeding with no shirt on. You couldn't even do that now. 9/11, you got to wear a shirt.
Hey, Tommy, this is Karl with the J&K Podcast, a Collar and Elbow brand sponsored podcast, and on the Roar Network as well. Now, I asked this question of Austin Aries yesterday, and I want to ask it of you as well. Before I retired from active competition, I had a superstition where I had to wear the exact same pair of socks in every single match. Now, not really hardcore, but do you have any superstitions? Or if you don't, what's one of the most outrageous ones that you know from another worker?
I have a boatload of superstitions. Back in the day, I would only change my ECW shirt if I got hurt in a match, then I wouldn't wear that shirt. And I'm not saying same exact shirt, I'm saying logo shirt. I, back in the day, used to have the same underwear I would wear on a Friday show and then the next day I'd wear my Saturday underwear. They were a teal thong so a lot of those crazy hardcore matches, the Innovator rounds was wearing a teal thong that basically fell off my body one day because I wore it so much. I wear the same socks all the time until they dissipate, but they have to be extra thick socks with a red trim. And for a lot of wrestlers in every wrestling company that I work for, I have old school knee wraps that have not been washed since 1995, and my knee braces have not been washed since 1996. And I also have the same way I get dressed. And if I've been to a building before, I have to sit in that exact same position in the locker room because that's why my longevity continues. And I'm crazy.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess the only follow-up question off that was, does anybody even want to sit next to you in the locker room?
You shut up. I will Mr. Sacco your face when I see you with my knee wrap.
Hey, Tommy, Ryan Boman from thegorillaposition.com again. You talked about a lot of the changes that have happened, not only in Impact, but in wrestling in general. Heading into Slammiversary this weekend, looking back over your career, what's the one thing that's changed that you're the happiest about, and what's the one thing that's changed that upsets you the most? And thanks for your time today.
The change that I'm happiest about, like I said, the betterment for the professional wrestler. I feel that's very, very key. I know I have my own goals with my own company, but the fact that, also that all these companies are working together. If you don't work together, you will not survive in today's climate. WWE leads the way. Cool. They have their own vision. Impact Wrestling has their own vision. They have their own fans. They have their own different management style. So does House of Hardcore. All these people are working together. Why? For the betterment of professional wrestling. So how could you not get behind these guys? Something that's worse is the BS and the politics. I know that's my company's mantra, and I know because I've talked to them, Scott D'Amore, Don Callis. Hell, Don Callis works for New Japan Pro Wrestling. They are trying to get rid, and they're doing a great job of all the negative funk that has been through the years of Impact Wrestling, and trying to get away with the BS of it.
Hey, it's Mike E.O. from the AverageMarks. To check out the entire interview from the Innovator of Violence, Tommy Dreamer, check out the description below.